So welcome to my hopefully no-nonsense walkthrough of the WJEC/Eduqas paper for, as you can see from the summer 2022 series, component 2 means paper 2, which means get your calcs out and let's get on with it. So the first question, as you can see, you don't have to write too much information, you don't have to list them. When it's only worth 1 mark, it's all about the answer. So the cost of a calculator, in your calc, type it in, added to pencil. Make sure you don't confuse the units, either turn the calculator into pence, 1050, or the pencil into 0.55 pounds. And then we've got the file, so probably easiest to call that 0.55. As long as you get to £14.64, you've started off with a mark. Next bit, 5 notebooks. As soon as you read that top line, don't read on. Do 5 times, just see it, £2.49, and then you need to do 20 minus whatever your answer is. Hopefully, again, you get £7.55. George bought 2 different items, £5 note, £1.90 change. Do a subtraction, means he spends £3.10. So your job is to look at the list, find the 2 items that add together to make £3.10, and that happens to be a pen and a stapler, and you can write the whole word out. 2A, a strange angles question, the way they've set it out, but it is what it is. You look at the top diagram. If the left-hand side is 90, the right-hand side must be 90. 90 minus 47 gives you 43 for angle A. B, as you can see, we've got 62 below. X angles is what they make. Correct name is opposite angles. And we've got 62. And finally, once you know what B is, well, you didn't even need to know it for C. You've got triangle 180. 180 minus the 2 you know leaves you with 76. That looks like 26, Al. 76. And part B, not connected, apart from it's an angles question. Interior angles, there you go. When you have 2 angles, therefore 2 sides the same, you've got an isosceles triangle. Part C, if you've got an angle measurer that will go above 180, feel free. If you've got a normal 180 semicircular protractor, measure that. You should be getting 60 plus or minus 2 the mark scheme allows, meaning that B is 300 plus or minus 2 degrees. Number 3, if you think, if you're not sure, count up. Does it go up in 0.2s? 8.2, 8.4, 8.6? No. So it's it goes up in 2 5s, it's quarters. Circle the 2 lengths that are equal. Well, 17.4 kilometres is way out there, and compared to these are small measurements. The metres is also quite long. It's about the others, really. So, as you can see, there's no way that these 2 are equal. They're literally different numbers. So it's a case of which is this equal to? To go from millimetres to centimetres, it's a divide by 10. So the answer, the correct pair, are those. Number 4, less than. Not a fan of the crocodile explanation. I always go with the less than symbol. Simply has no opening as opposed to a large opening, so it gets the smallest share, the nibbly end of the slice of pizza, or however you want to think about it. For part B, give calculations to show that the statement is correct. In other words, do them both. 18%, you could convert it 0.18. I'll go with let my calc do all the work. Percent means out of 100, of means times. If you bash those buttons, you get 28.8. How do you find 2/3 of a number? You can either use your fraction button and just turn of into times, or you could have done 43.2, divide by the bottom, multiply by the top. No matter which way you do it, the statement says they're the same. It's asking you to show it's correct. It's correct. Question 5, we've got 9 cards, as you can see. You must only use the numbers on these cards. So calculate the sum of the 2 prime numbers. There are only 2. Okay, that's your 13 and your 17. So they add up to 30. Worth writing them down, keeping an eye on how many marks they're worth. Product of the 2 square numbers. 9's a square, 36 is a square, and product means you need to multiply them. Find the number which is both a factor of 72 and a multiple of 8. Do it by a process of elimination. Factors of 72, well, there's 1, there's 1, and there's 1, but also a multiple of 8, not in the 8 times table, not in the 8 times table, but 24 most definitely is. Roman picks one of his 9 at random. A 2 in 9 chance with a cube number. Is Roman's statement correct? And that's a no. You need to write one sentence, keep it short and sweet, don't fill all 3 lines. 27 is the only cube number in that list. So the actual chance is 1/9, or words to that effect. Number 6, we have a scale factor question. More clip art, more nonsense, because obviously we didn't know what a house looks like, did we? The scale, the multiplier, in other words, to go from scale drawing to real life, to go from centimetres to metres, it's multiplied by a quarter. And that will help us with part A. Take your 30, times it by a quarter. 7.5. Do stick your units on, because there could be a conflict. Can't remember what the mark scheme says, if I'm honest, but why would you risk it? Part B is going in the opposite direction. It's going from real life to centimetres, so we need to work backwards. Inverse operation means divide by the quarter instead of multiply. And there we go for 8 centimetres. Number 7, good old pattern. Just do lines and circles separately. The lines are going up in 5s, so it should go 21 and 26. The circles is going up in 3s, so that's going to go from 11 to 14 and to 17. Is it possible for a pattern in this sequence to have that information? Or carry it on? If the lines continued, you'd go 26, 31, 36. So maybe, but let's look at the circles. If you continue adding 3, your next one will have 20, your next one will have 23, not 24. It's a no, and I've shown how I decided. Number 8, calcs at the ready. Head teacher, carpet. As soon as you see that and carpet, because when you see a diagram like that, your question that you should be asking yourself really is it a perimeter or is it an area question? This is area. Get them multiplied. Whoops, what am I writing? 8 0.5, obviously. I could write the answer to that, because that will give us so many meters squared. Why not just times by 12.48 straight away? Do it all in one. Save yourself the time. £583.44 for your answer. Head teacher, different classroom, still area, but this time back to front. You're being told the area, and you're being told how much area each roll covers. It's a divide. 67.2 divided by 10.5, and you get 6.4. But this is one of those common sense situations. 6.4 ordinarily would round down to 6, but no, it's going to leave a bald patch on your floor. This is one of those where you have to round up. 7 rolls required for the head. Number 9, again with a calculator. You could read all that waffle, I don't bother. I look at that and that. If you don't spot that the multiplier is 6, do a divide. 72 divided by 12 will give you 6. So each of those ingredients, you don't need to use that space. Just multiply each of the numbers you see by 6. You should get 1440, 750, 612. Next, we've got 1.75 kilograms, kilograms. All these are in grams. Let's get rid. Times it by 1,000. We've got 1,750 grams of butter. It says, what's the greatest number of batches? Not how many flapjacks, batches. One batch of 12 requires 125 grams of butter, divided by 125. You get a nice easy 14. On we go to part C. To make 15 flapjacks, use 25% more of each ingredient. Loads of ways of doing it. Convert 25% to a quarter if you want to think about it. But the fact is, if you're increasing the number of flapjacks by 3, that's what's happened. We're adding 3 flapjacks. 3 flaps. That's what we're doing. And 3 out of 12 is a quarter, which is 25%. And as I say, lots of different ways of going about it, but it is correct. It's only worth 1 mark. As I've always said, don't overcomplicate. At last, some proper maths, some algebra. Only add and subtract, only simplify like terms. You've got 5f, you're adding 3, you end up with 8. You've got 6g, but you take away 9, you go into debt for 3 of them. What does expand mean? It means whatever is in front of the bracket needs multiplying by whatever is inside the bracket. And there we go. Find the value of this. Well, BIDMAS, but your calculator will help you out. 6x means 6 lots of the value of x added to 3 lots of the value of y. Either do it in a couple of parts on your calc, entirely your choice. I just stick it all in. 32.4 for your 2 marks. For D, people don't like these sort of questions, but just stick with the plan. We don't like that -4. Adding 4 to both sides now means a number which, when we divide it by 2, gives us 10. That number has to be 20. And finally, a little bit of a trick one on this one. Take care. Taking that diagram, that length is y, that's an x, that's an x, that's a y, that's a y, that's an x, that's an x. But notice, find an expression in terms of x. You don't want y. I'm afraid if you've left your answer as 4x plus 3y, not quite, I'm afraid. So how do we get rid of the y's? Well, can you see how this distance is the same as that distance? So the y is just 2x's. So all the y's can be replaced with 2x, meaning now add them all up. 2 plus 2 plus 2 is 6, plus one of them, plus one of them, plus one of them, plus one of them. You've got 10 of them for your perimeter. Easy to get caught out on that one. Number 11, more nonsense clip art. Explain why she's incorrect. There are other balls. Well, I'm afraid you're wrong. You add up all them, it already adds up to 1. There can't be any other. If the sum was 0.99, then there is a 1 in whatever chance of something else happening, but not today. They add up to 1. That means they cover all the possibilities. When it says calculate the probability of either, that means add. So it's 0.46 added to 0.1, 0.56, and that's it. On to the very waffly part C, and I'll keep repeating myself one line at a time. Fahima uses the sack of balls, so it's what we've got above. In the game, each person pays 50p. Yada, yada, yada. 150 people played. Stop. 150 people paying 50 pence or 0.5 if you want. But she's going to take in 7,500 pence. Or if you prefer, £75. The player wins a prize if a blue ball is chosen. A blue is 0.12. So although it's not guaranteed that this is the right number of winners, the expected number of winners will be 150 times by the 0.12. So she's expecting, could be more, could be fewer, she's expecting 18 wins, which means she should expect to pay out the rather strange prize of £2.95 18 times. So you've got to expect to outlay £53.10 in prizes. How much profit? There we go. Takes 75, expects to outlay £53.10. Take them away, and we've got Fahima's expected profit. Number 12, do it any way you want, but my preferred way is to think about going up to the next hour. So 9.27, 9:27 a.m. It's 33 minutes to get to 10 a.m. It'll then take 11 a.m. 1 hour, 12 a.m. 2 hours, 13 p.m. or 1 p.m. 3 hours, and then another 13 minutes. Should really specify. So that's your thinking, that's my thought process anyway. So Add the minutes, 33 plus 13. We don't go over the hour, so no need to add a 1 on. And it's 3 hours 46. Question B, a distinct two very different ways of doing this. If your teacher is a big nag to do these as factor trees, absolutely not a problem. It's good revision, good practice, because in the exam, these numbers could be much less friendly, but the fact that they are quite friendly numbers, 30 and 24, and it's on a calc paper, I don't see why you wouldn't. Write down your 24 times table, just keep adding 24s. Write down your 30 times table, etc., etc. You'll find that the lowest common multiple is 120 minutes, which means 2 hours. So what's the next time they'll leave the station at the same time? It's 10 a.m. As I say, both ways spot on. More clip art, because obviously we didn't know what parsnips or potatoes look like. Thanks for that. 1 kilogram of potatoes costs £1.32. She's bought that many. 3.5 times 1.32 gives us £4.62 spent on potatoes. They cost a total of £6.23. Do a subtraction. That leaves you with £1.61 spent on parsnips. We bought 2.3 kilograms of them. We need to divide by 2.3. And if you want to do it in pence, it'll be 70 pence. But I've gone for pounds, so I'll stick to £0.70. Number 14. Let's assume you've got the right answer, which is 9.2625. So 1 dp, 1 decimal place is 9.3, because we look at the 6 and it's a 5 or above, so it means the 2 must go up to 3. Now, if you don't get that answer, it's because you need to give your calc a little bit of help. I'd suggest putting the brackets in, and fingers crossed you'll then agree with me. To round off to 2 significant figures, 6 is the most significant, 8 is the second, and it's the number after it which makes us decide. Now, I don't like the phrase rounds down. I do prefer levels off. So this number is 68,000-ish. The 3 means it levels off to 68,000. To write a number in standard form, again, if your teacher nags you to draw loops, as in where is the decimal point now and where would we like it to be, then do it. Stick with it. Examiners don't care. Mark schemes don't care. I'm just going to stick with, well, it's in the millions. And millions is 10 to the power of 6. It's always nice to know your thousands a power of 3, millions power of 6, and billions power of 9. And you obviously, beyond that, you start to lose the reason and won't come up very often either. But as I say, if you did count it, you'll just get 6 loops anyway. Question 15, the Venn diagrams. You've got a couple of things here. A is a set of odd numbers. I do prefer to scribble it down so you don't have to keep checking and just reminding you where things need to go. Multiples of 3 or 3 times table, whatever you want to do. And one by one, don't try and rush them. No need. It's a 4-mark question. You've got 4 or 5 minutes. Take your time. So 31 is just odd. 32 is even. That's outside. 33 is both. 34, that's even, not in the 3 times table. 35, only odd. 36 is the only even multiple of 3 in the list. 37, odd, just odd. 38 is outside. 39 is the second one that's both in the intersection. And 40 is another one that goes in the outside, can be anywhere that you want. For a number to be selected at random out of all of them, there's 10 possibilities to choose from. And it says, is an odd number, but not a multiple of 3. A is your odd numbers, but it's those that are not your multiples of 3, and so it needs to be 3 over 10. For question 16, yep, I've cheated, didn't trust myself with technology. Obviously, though, get your ruler to double check. Now, I always do it by counting first and use your ruler, the raise method, as a way of double checking. Scale factor of 2 from the centre, 0, 0 means count, you go 2 along, 1 up, becomes 4 along, 2 up. And then 3, 1 becomes 6, 2, and obviously every side should double. And when you get your ruler drawing your raise, that becomes a double check method as opposed to in the way of doing it. I do prefer that way for double checking. 3 vertices of a parallelogram have been plotted. For me, parallel sides must have the same amount along and up. So as you can see there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to the right, 1 up should be replicated over here. 1, 2, 3, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 1 up. You can draw it if you want, doesn't tell you to, just plotting, but if you need to draw it, feel free. Number 17, we've got area of circles, basically. Forget that they're pizzas, it's just areas of circles. So, Amy, Vance, etc., etc. Start with Amy. Its area of a circle, which is pi. The radius of her pizza is 3 squared, but she's getting half a pizza. And you could do it in terms of multiples of pi, but it's going to be easier to compare. She has 14.14 inches squared. The units aren't catered for in the mark scheme. No one cares. On to Vance, he's only getting a quarter. So we're going to divide by 4, but for him, it's 5 squared instead of the 3 squared. And that comes out at 19.63 inches squared. At the end of the day, it's now easy to tell that Vance has the greatest area of pizza to munch on. Number 18, estimating the mean. Never the most exciting, but just nice, easy marks in my opinion. Doesn't matter where you do it, up on the diagram, up on the table, down here, anywhere you want. But I'm going to do the midpoints, we'll call them X over here. So you earn a mark for going right down the middle, 45, and they are evenly spaced. So you can now just go up in 30s. So we're estimating that these 9 carats are all 45. And that's why we're going to be multiplying our midpoints by the f. Some teachers, I'm sure, will call it the f times x, the frequency times the midpoints column. 405, 2475, 3990, 1080, 330, and your total should come to 8,280. And nope, don't divide by 5, that's a number of lines. You're going to divide by 90 because it's the number of carats. 92 grams it is. On we go. So we've got JFP. That's how I always think about these ratio questions. Frida gets 3 times as much as Jan. You can call Jan 1, 1x, 10, 100. No one cares. I'm going to go with 1. Pete, Frida gets 3 times as much. So whatever you put there, treble it. And Peter gets half as much. So whatever you've got there, halve it. To write it as a ratio in its simplest form, though, you don't want to have decimals. So easiest way to get rid of a 0.5, we double everything. Double the 1, double the 3, and double the 1.5. What fraction does he get? He gets 3 out of, add them all up, there's 11 shares. Number 20, because we didn't know what a digger looked like. So there we go. We are going to have a digger being used for 1,250 hours each year. Waffle, waffle, waffle. And it's used for 10,000 hours. Straight away, that's your first connection. Do a quick divide. It means it's going to be used for 8 years. And that then tells you the digger will decrease in value at a rate of 18%. If you want to decrease something by 18%, your multiplier is 0.88. It's 8 years. And your amount here, we usually refer to it as your capital, is the value of the digger. Stick all that in your calc, bearing in mind it's cash, so we'll go for 2 decimal places. It means that after 8 years, that's the digger's value. But there's a catch to this. Use this information to calculate the decrease. So you could have been a smart Alec and done 0.12, but who does that? This is the standard way of doing it. So to find the decrease, you do need to do a subtraction, so that Samir has lost £28,601.31. Strange way of phrasing it, and obviously easy to get caught out on that one. Number 21. Lots of multiplying and dividing here. You can do it in any order, as long as at some point you take the 42, you times it by 360 degrees per revolution, and divide it by 60, like I say, in any order. As long as you get 252, that's a nice easy 3 marks. State one assumption. Anything you want. Don't feel like you've got to fill all 3 lines. As always, it's a 1 marker. So just state something like it spins at a constant speed, or it doesn't slow down, or it doesn't speed up, or whatever. Anything like that will get you your mark. How would your answer to part A change? So lots of different answers here. If your assumption was it didn't slow down, however you've assumed in part BI, try and carry it forward to part II. So if, for example, in BI you said it doesn't slow down, how would your answer change? So your assumption was not correct, means it does slow down. Well, if it slows down, it will turn through fewer degrees. Or if it speeds up, it will rotate for more degrees. And if it just, and so on and so forth. Again, 1 mark. You do not have to fill all 3 lines up. That'd be a waste of time. Number 22, solving. And they've been a bit tricky here on both parts. If you're not a fan of having x as second, nothing wrong with rearranging it to this. You're just making the right, flip the right and the left around. Whoops. And it's the same question. And you would start down here by subtracting 2x from both sides. Well, you can do the same up here. After that, down here, you would subtract 11 from both sides. Goes down into minuses. Not a problem. and now divide both sides by 3, you should end up at -2. So if you don't like the way it's written, change it. Next, trying to be tricky, if there's a minus in front of a bracket, it's like you're multiplying everything inside the bracket by -1. So -1 times 3x and -1 times +1. There we go. Two things at once. Let's simplify the x's, 8x, take away 3x, and let's add the 1. Final job, divide by the number next to x for 3/5, or if you've pressed your calc SD button and so on, 0.6, also acceptable. Question C, waffle, 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 yada, yada, yada. Ali says you've made an error. Is Ali correct? Answer's yes, because somewhere in here, people, there is a mistake. Nothing wrong with the algebra. It's there. Okay, x needs to be above -1, not greater than or equal to -1. Show clearly how you decide. I would simply say -1 should not be part of Tanji's answer. Words to that effect again. Why have they given you all that space? No idea for me. The inequality x is greater than -2. You need an open circle over, on, or below with an arrow going to the right. Doesn't matter how long your arrow is, as long as it has the arrowhead. Number 23, again, more waffle at the top. At the end of the day, it's a line of best fit. It's been drawn for you. So for part A, estimate 27 degrees Celsius, go to 27, show the examiner you're using the line of best fit by going along and down. Use your ruler, use a pencil. As you can see, I get 17 seconds. Mark scheme is quite strict. It only allows 17 to 17.4. So do take care on that front. When x is 70, the scientist measures and so on. Use the information to basically say, is it likely? Well, so saying at 70 seconds, which is way over here, it's going to be 50. Well, I'm afraid by the time the number of seconds is 50, it's already above 50. So the chances of it staying the same, it is unlikely. So explain how you decide. I've simply written on my worked answers. Feel free to go and have a look. I've already said for 50 seconds, the temperature's already 50 degrees. So it's likely to be higher. And that's it. Question C. Couple of ways of doing this is the algebra way, where you can use y equals mx plus c and substitute in the 10 and the 22. I've gone for a more finding the gradient and intercept way. The intercept, the plus c on the end, that's already given. Because if a graph crosses at 0,15, that is, by definition, the intercept. So you've already got the y equals, you just need what goes in here, and that is the gradient. How do you calculate the gradient? Subtract the y's, 22, take away 15, subtract the x's, 10, take away 0. Keep it as a fraction or a decimal, it's entirely up to you. Explain what the gradient of the line of best fit represents. So let's just have a scan up. Gradient of a line, the very definition of a gradient, is the rate of change of one thing with respect to another. So getting those words across is important, but in this context, the idea is for every second, that's the increase in temperature. For every bit of time, that's the increase in temperature. But I would just, because it's 7/10, the idea is every second it's increasing by 0.7 degrees or 7/10. Again, words to that effect, but certainly don't waffle as much as I certainly have. And finally, calculate the area of the triangle. Let's not forget, area of a right-angled triangle, area of a triangle, if you know its height, is a half times the base times the height. So you need the base. And that's what turns an area of a triangle question into a good old SOHCAHTOA question. Process for SOHCAHTOA, as always, labels. Hypotenuse, opposite, adjacent. We're not using the hypotenuse. It's a TOA question. We want the opposite side, so we need to multiply. We're going to multiply the tan of 57. What am I doing? And if your calc opens brackets, make sure to close them. Multiplied by 4.8. And that should give you roughly 7.39, whatever. But keep that in your display, because you're going to use it now, because you're now going to take that, you're going to times it by a half, and times it by 4.8, giving you the area, for me, 17.7392. Be as accurate as you want, but the space is quite small. Stick to 17.7. And there we go. So I hope that's helped, and I'll see you on the next one.